Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to my kitchen. I'm Kathy Hester of HealthySlowCooking.com and PlantBasedInstantPot.com. And today I'm here to show you some air frying. We're going to air fry some tofu. It's easy. I do it the easiest, most cheater way, which is what I'm going to show you. As you're coming on, say hi, let me know you're here. Also, tell me if you have an air fryer or not, and if you do, what kind, model, size, any information you want to give me. It's all helpful. So if for some reason you don't eat soy, if you're allergic to soy, you could use some of these same techniques with vegetables. I would just like to say with cauliflower, cooks slower than tofu does. So if you're going to do this with cauliflower, like little cauliflower florets, hi Shauna, what you're going to want to do is maybe half cook them and then do the things we're going to talk about. Hi Miss Jenny Field, you need an air fryer, Miss Thing. We'll have to see what we can do. I know I have one I can lend you for sure. But tofu in the air fryer is amazing, and that's why I decided I wanted to talk about that. It's also talked about a lot in my cookbook, Vegan Cooking in Your Air Fryer, which I think you can get a discount on because it's Prime Day, so you might want to check that out. Any of the things that we talk about, I'll come back and put some links. Yeah, Jeffrey will be thrilled, and so will you. And you'll be amazed at how much tofu you eat. So, what we're going to do first is I'm going to talk a little bit about tofu. And the tofu, this is weird contraption. I pressed the tofu. And you probably can see in here as it moves, there's a little bit of liquid still. Oh, there you go. There's a good one. And typically you pour off as much of that as you can. I've poured it off a couple of times, so I'm not worried. This is just organic extra firm tofu from Whole Foods. This is not my favorite tofu. And the reason is that with this extra firm, you still have to press it. Now another way, without having a fancy, expensive gadget, because this is a Tofu Express, and I think it's like $40. So if you can get a deal on it today on Prime Day, go for it. I'll check after and see if there's anything I can find for you. But you can also just wrap things up and wrap the tofu up in clean paper towels. Maybe put a heavy pan or a cast iron pan on it and let it sit. So what that does is it takes the water out and it compresses the holes. So it makes it firmer. And it's a little bit misleading because they also have some extra firm chunks that supposedly you can just take out and cook with. Those aren't going to do the best for this. And we'll explain why. I typically, and my very favorite is, I think it's called super firm or super extra firm. And a lot of times it's also known as high protein tofu. And they didn't have any at Whole Foods yesterday, which is why I don't have it. You don't need to press at all. So if you have that, that makes it the easiest cheat of all, right? So you don't even have to press for 10 minutes. If you're using firm tofu, plain firm tofu, I would maybe press it for at least an hour just to get everything out as much as you can. The firmer the tofu, the less it's going to like break up into a million pieces. So back to the tofu. So I wanted to show you this contraption. So I'm going to push down on this. There's a big spring. And as that goes down, that's what helps press the water out a little faster. And that's what's pressing down on it so it's even. And so that's pressed down a little bit. It's not perfect. It's probably only been pressing for about a half hour. But it's good enough for today. So what I usually do is then I just cut it into cubes. And the cubes that you cut it in should be the size that you like. One of the things that you'll find out as you're air frying and using your air fryer versus maybe my air fryer is that things might take a little bit different time. So I have a few different air fryers, and today we're going to use my Philips, which is my small one. I think it's the Philips Viva or Via, and it's a small one. And I'll actually show you the basket for the large one too. But so it's going to cook at a different rate in both of those both of those air fryers. Okay, I guess I don't talk and cut very well at the same time. I don't do this very often as far as cutting and talking to you guys. Okay, so I just made these into the little cubes that I want them to be, right? You can make yours bigger, you can make yours smaller. My recommendation is, as you're using an air fryer, new to you, or just making a new recipe, start cooking something 5 minutes, check it. Cook it 5 more minutes, check it. And that's what I do in my cookbook too a lot, because anytime you're trying something new, or I'm trying a new air fryer, I've got to still gauge what's going on. And maybe my Go Wise extra large cooks at a different speed than your Go Wise extra large. So just be willing to kind of suss things out and see how it goes. So the first thing, so if tofu wasn't controversial enough, now we're going to talk a little bit about cornstarch. You don't have to use cornstarch, but one of the things that turns people off of cornstarch is they're afraid that it's GMO. So this is obviously non-GMO cornstarch, and with Whole Foods, you might not know that, but down here, and let me see if I can get that a little closer, you can see the non-GMO verification. So that happens, and in fact, you can even get organic cornstarch if that makes you feel better. Can you use something else like potato starch, tapioca starch? Yes. All you want to do is have something that's kind of dry, and we'll give it a crispy coating. So we're going to do half of this plain. And so the first thing you should know is this isn't going to have a lot of flavor to it. And I'm okay with that because when I'm doing this, I'm typically doing it for a stir fry. So when I'm doing a stir fry, I want the stir fry to have all that flavor for me. And so I'm just going to put the tofu, even though we pressed it, it's still going to be damp. So it should hold the cornstarch just fine. And if it doesn't, we could use oil, like a spray oil before we put the cornstarch on, or spray, and you can get these kind that don't have the stuff that messes with the environment. It just squeezes out. It doesn't have any weird propellants. This is just avocado oil. You can also get a little bottle and just put aquafaba. And for those of you who may not know, aquafaba is just the water that's in the can of chickpeas. And if you make them yourself, you can go ahead and thicken it up a little bit, maybe on the stove, and reduce it until it looks a little closer to what you see the thickness in a can. Let me get a little more on here. But see how it's sticking, even though I didn't put any oil or anything on there? Can you guys see that? Now, when I'm going to put this in here, this time I'm going to show you what happens when you don't have anything in here, because it will stick to the bottom a little bit. But you've got two options, and I just found these recently. These are silicone liners, so like they'll go in here. Now what you want to make sure whenever you use this liner or the other liner, that you have enough weight on here to secure the liner to the bottom. There's a fan up in there, and that's where the heat is. So what will happen if especially if one of the papers, let me show you, like you can get these at the Asian market or online at Amazon, and these basically, it's just parchment paper with some holes that allows everything to kind of circulate a little bit better. Now this especially will just fly up and burn. Now it shouldn't like catch on fire, but let's don't ever find out if it happens or not, right? So you have to have something with some weight. So I don't use these if you're making kale chips. That would be a bad idea. But if you wanted to use these for tofu, because that's going to hold them down. But I want to show you what can happen without them. And so there's a little more of this stuff in here. If I wanted to, I could be a little more heavy-handed. I'm cooking about half of that tofu right now. So, and this just fits up in here. And just in case you're brand new to air fryers, this button lets me lift this little basket out. And in this particular Phillips model, the bottom of the basket also removes for cleaning. And One of the reasons it's one of my favorites is it has a little top. And I think you can only get this top when you buy it through Williams-Sonoma. But this is great when we were talking about not letting things get up into the fan. This is great for kale chips and collard chips and other light foods. But you don't have to use it, and we don't need it for this. So I'm going to put it on, let's say 375. We probably won't go all the way to 5 minutes, but we'll set this aside for a little bit. Do any of you have questions about what we've done so far? So what we've talked about is the kinds of tofu that I prefer to use, which is the high protein, super extra firm tofu, because it requires no pressing. And so what we're doing now is we're making kind of a not flavorful tofu, which may seem like a really weird thing to do. However, if you make this, it's going to have the perfect texture. So if I'm making something like a red curry with vegetables, I will go ahead and mix this in with that sauce. And I do the same thing. Maybe I'll make a teriyaki vegetables, use teriyaki sauce or some other Asian sauce. And then as I'm stir frying, then I bring this from the air fryer and dump it in my stir fry. So that works pretty well. And excuse the animals, they're wanting to go do something outside. So, and Jane was saying, would a convection oven do the same thing? It can do something similar for sure. It may not do exactly the same thing. It's definitely going to take longer than it will in an air fryer. An air fryer is kind of almost a good substitute for your microwave too, because it does cook things so much faster. So, and it may not be quite as crispy, but you could get one of those, I don't have it around, air fryer trays. So it's like an air fryer basket that sits on a tray and goes in your oven. That would help the air circulate around it a little bit more, but your cooking time will definitely be different. So this is the plain tofu. There's a couple of different ways we can make this more flavorful, just as is. We could put a spice mix on it, and I do that a lot when I'm making a salad. So maybe I'll toss it in Cajun spice or barbecue spice, really any spice blend that I come up with. You can also make these very similar to the chicken fried soy curls, and that's what I'm going to show you a little bit now. So I'm just going to make a mix with a few things. And I did want to mention that this sprouted tofu extra firm, I do like this, and they have a Trader Joe version that does the same thing. So if soy doesn't agree with you wholeheartedly, sometimes when it's sprouted, it's easier to digest. So that would be something for you to try. So I'm going to put a little bit of cornmeal, and this is just, I like to use the fine grain cornmeal. That's probably enough. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to put a little bit of nutritional yeast. And you can follow the recipe on healthyslowcooking.com for my chicken fried soy curls. This is not going to be exactly it. I just want to show you how easy it is to make up something really quick. Sometimes I'll put a Cajun spice in this. This time I'm going to put a little bit of poultry spice. And Cindy, the kind of... Okay, I think we may have to take a break and let the dogs outside real quick. We'll be right back. I promise. We can be bad puppies. Yes, we went outside, bad puppies. There you go. Go on. Go on. Okay, sorry for the delay. That message is brought to you by my crotchety old puppy, Brenna. So, back to where we were. I know. I think she's like 12 now, and she wants what she wants when she wants it. Now, this is another spice blend that I usually talk about around the holidays, but it's perfect for this. This is Poultry Spice. So it has some rosemary, some sage, thyme. Basically, it smells like stuffing to me. So we're going to put a little bit of that in there. And it has nothing to do with poultry other than the fact that it is used to season poultry. So it doesn't have any kind of weird ulterior motive. You could also, if you do salt, which I didn't bring over here, let's put some salt and pepper in this too. I'm going to go ahead and put some salt. And if you don't use salt, totally leave it out. What I would recommend replacing it with would be probably some granulated garlic and granulated onion. Now here's a good tip for you. So this is a trivet, right? One thing that you don't necessarily think about is the bottom of this. Oops, the bottom of this is very hot. You don't want to just sit it on your counter. And actually these didn't stick very much at all. And what you could do, and you can see the cornstarch on there, so, oh, I think the lighting is really bad right there. There you go. Oh, Holly got an air fryer today on Amazon deals for around $40. Hey, Holly, you should put that in the comments if you've got the link so other people can get one. And tell me what kind it is. So, again, we're making this as if we were making it for a stir fry or a curry, a Thai curry, something like that. So I don't care that you can see some of this cornstarch here. Hey, Dawn. And it's not uncrispy now, but see, like that side isn't crispy and all the others are. So you can shake it. And if it sticks, you can just use this and get it around like that. So I'm going to put it in for another couple minutes. Let's do 3 minutes. And air fryers, some have these digital displays, some have analog displays, and it doesn't really matter. So, back to the yumminess that I'm making here. I'm going to also put a little bit of pepper in there, and I like freshly cracked pepper because it gives it that little bit of a bite. Cheryl doesn't like it that much, but this is my lunch. So in fact, since it's my lunch, I could even make it spicy chicken. Right, chicken nuggets kind of thing. So I'm going to toss some of these in here. And then I will probably switch these up. And so basically, it's not going to be a thick coating like a batter. So if I wanted this to be a thick coating like a batter, I could have added some water to this. I just want to use it to have things stick on mostly. I'm going to eat this on a salad, so I'm not really looking for all the crunchies in the world. Does that make sense, everybody? So you could put water. It makes it messier, and I don't always like that. And so what I will do is I'll save this, and I will use it on the next batch that I do a little bit later. Hey, Robert. Okay. Let me empty out this bowl, the cornstarch remnants, and that, I'll get some teriyaki sauce. I think I have some in the fridge. So obviously if you're on a special diet, you may not be able to just get store-bought teriyaki sauce, but you can make your own. And I have several recipes around about things like that. And see, this would be another thing. This is a barbecue spice blend that I made, and I made it without salt. So if you're using a blend that has salt, you may not be able to use it to coat the whole thing in it as much. Oh, great. Thanks, Melissa and Holly, for telling us about some of these specials. Those are a smaller air fryer. And I'll show you this small one compared to my large one in just a minute as well. Well, let's call that done. Okay. So these are pretty much crispy on all the sides. And what I'm going to do is just pour them out in here. And while we're doing that, let me go ahead and get the chickeny tofu into the basket. So it can be, you can see what that's going to look like too. And you can do battered food. The thing is if you're doing battered food in here, there are two things I would recommend. One, you've got to make it a really thick batter. You can't do like a thin tempura crepe-like batter because it's just going to fall off. The reason that works in hot oil, let's see, now I have all that for another time. The hot oil seals it immediately. So I'm going to put this in here and you can kind of see what that looks like in a minute. Okay, so this looks not the most appetizing. So what I'm going to do is kind of show you a little bit by tossing it in this teriyaki sauce, what it ends up looking once it gets into your stir fry. I'm just going to use this. And it smells really good too. So what you see now is really more like what you see in a Chinese restaurant, or even kind of the tofu that can be in Thai curries and things like that. And this, I just tossed it with some Trader Joe's soyaki, which is just a pre-made teriyaki sauce. So I'm going to put a piece in my mouth. It's really good. You get some crunchiness around the edges and a real soft, pillowy inside. Oh, hi, Louise. Do not be sorry that you are late. I'm happy that you're here always. So we just made some tofu that's just coated with cornstarch for use in things like stir fries or Thai red curries, things that you're going to be putting into a sauce. And so the sauce is bringing the flavor. Now, you could also go ahead and marinate your tofu in your favorite marinade. And then you'll still have to press it, and then you could go ahead and bread it. I find that oftentimes I'm just too lazy, and I don't think about it ahead of time. And I like to use that extra firm, high-protein tofu, which doesn't really lend itself to sopping things up very much because it's so thick and ready to go. Is the best way to think of it. So this is why we're doing this. Also, what's in the air fryer right now is kind of a chickeny coating that I made. So it's similar to my chicken fried soy curls, and you can get the recipe for that coating on healthyslowcooking.com. And so we just made a little powder of it. We didn't make it into a proper batter, though you could have made it in a batter by adding a little bit of water. And we're going to see that come out in a minute. Okay, Holly asked, do I like a smaller size or a larger size for air fryers for families? I'm not sure that one cooks better than the others, but let me go ahead and bring over that larger fry basket for you to see. And I just heated it, so it's going to be wet. But it'll be a really good way for you to see. Now, do you see how big that is? Already compared to the air fryer, right? Which is pretty darn big. And I'll go ahead and stop this for a second. Okay. See how much bigger this one is? It'll hold a lot more. I'll shake it. So what this will do is, and this is the Go Wise Extra Large, and I'll come back and put a link. I found a link on Amazon where it was only $80 for the Extra Large, which is a fabulous price. I think even on their site it's like $120, and I really like it. Some people are worried about the coating chipping off on some of these that have nonstick coatings. Oh, Louise likes the air fryer chicken soy curls, so hopefully you will too, and you should try it. If you like it, let me know. So with the bigger one, you can fit probably 4 veggie burgers and some fries on top of that. You can cook a lot more, and you can fit different pans in here too. And I did not bring out my pans, but I have like some small cake pans, and I have, I'm trying to think if anything is right under here for that. Not really. So, oh, and we're talking about the chipping and coating. So what you should do to clean it, to keep it from chipping, is you let it cool. Then I actually take this whole thing, because this is the basket and its holder, right? So I leave the two together. Once it's, I can put it together holding it like that. There we go. I fill it, once it's cool, fill it up with hot soapy water. I let it soak for maybe anywhere from 10 minutes to overnight. And then in the morning, I just barely have to wipe to get everything off. So they do say, Go Wise specifically says, only clean once it's cool. So I think that that's a good place to start. I've had this one for a while, and honestly, I have no problems at all in here as far as chipping. Now, let's get this. Oop. Yeah, Holly, that one is really big. And you can kind of see these. So it looks kind of similar, only it looks a little more appetizing, right? And actually, probably only needs a minute or two more before it's actually really, really ready. I think that's a piece of. Okay, and so again, let's see if we can get, can you see them side by side? And actually, let me pull the baskets out. So see, that's quite a bit more. It's also deeper. This one is, I guess I need to do it this way, deeper than this one also. The Phillips is not inexpensive. And the reason I got it, part of the reason I got it was that cool little top, because I wanted to try that out. And that is not enough to pay big bucks for, honestly. Unless you too want to know what all the air fryer stuff does. But, I have the Phillips, the smaller one. I have the extra large Go Eyes. And I just got the Breville Smart Toaster Oven Air. And I've done a couple things with it, and it's kind of nice. It's super pricey. I managed to get it on a sale with a coupon, so I think I paid $3.19 for it. And when I was doing the air fryer book, Vegan Cooking in Your Air Fryer, it was like $500. So I was not able to test my recipes in it because that was just ridiculous. So if you can get it on sale, great. Another place to look is to look on Amazon Warehouse for deals on all of these. So maybe, I think I looked up the Go Eyes extra large, and they had a couple, but it was like, I don't know, it was like $75 for possibly refurbished or returns. So at $80, I wanted, I think the new one would be better. My very first extra large Phillips that I got on the Amazon Warehouse, like half price. It was one of the early ones. I liked it. It cooked well, but it pulled a little more electricity than my house was happy with. I have heard the newer models do not do that, so I don't think you can buy the one that I had, but that's why I don't still have it. Go Wise gave me this one. I also tested with the smaller Go Wise when I was writing the book, and that worked really well too. I have had the Cuisinart toaster oven, and that one works just fine. The reason I decided to get rid of it, a friend was interested in it, and it bings, so it's not digital, it's like little dials, like a timer, and it makes one of my dogs crazy in not a nice way, so it really bothers him. So it wasn't really worth keeping it when I already had 2 other air fryers. So if you guys have some more air fryer questions, now's a good time. And so let's go back here. And one other thing to notice, so I don't know if you guys can see this. Can you see the little specks on top or not? See if I can move some of it up. See how, yeah, now you can see it for sure. Okay, so that's some of the cornmeal coating. All around here, some stuff comes out. Also, on the very back, and you can maybe see some in here too, that's the fan. So you don't want to have it right up against your counter, like, what is that, backsplash, while you're cooking. You want to have about this much room. So when I have this on my under my counter, I pull the whole thing out from underneath the counter to kind of give it some extra room for that, because it will melt things as well. Holly says, this is my kid's favorite thing to eat out. I need to buy the air fryer and start cooking it healthier at home. It's so easy. I mean, seriously. And these are so good. So, and this is going to be kind of dryish. And actually, let's cut one in half. Ow. They're hot. So I would also recommend that you don't just grab stuff out of the air fryer with your hand like I just did. So see, again, oh, is that? I'm trying to get it where you can see it the best. Here we go. You might be able to see it. It's crisp on the outside, but it's real pillowy inside. And this you could also put in your favorite sauce. You could dip it in barbecue sauce. You could make a really quick golden gravy. So the soy curls and this I often serve on top of mashed potatoes. And so I'll make a quick gravy on the stove. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of toast up a little bit of flour. And you could probably use gluten-free flour or cornstarch or tapioca starch. I put some nutritional yeast in there, pretty much just what I did here. Some nutritional yeast, a little poultry seasoning, and salt and pepper. Add water, bring it up to a boil, keep whisking it. It'll get thick eventually. And once it gets thick, it gets real thick. And you might have to loosen it up and start the whole process again. But it's a great, easy meal. So I wanted to show you just one way to make tofu that's super easy, and it really has, to me, the perfect texture. I love the way it's crispy on the outside, but still kind of moist on the inside. Yeah, I have cooked tempeh in the air fryer, Tammy, and tempeh works great. I also like the way the edges of it get really crisp. And I would say still, tempeh can be kind of bitter sometimes, so I steam mine for 10 minutes usually before I cut it up and use it. So I tend to steam my tempeh. If that doesn't bother you, or you have a local artisanal tempeh maker where it's not bitter, you won't need to do that. Unfortunately, we lost ours where I live. Tempeh Girl is no longer making tempeh, and hers was amazing. And also, if you can't have soy, this doesn't have to just be tofu. So this could be, it could be cauliflower, but you want to cook the cauliflower partially before, because it takes a while for the cauliflower to get cooked all the way. It doesn't take long for tofu to get cooked all the way. Hi, Elaine. What I will say, and someone's saying, do you like the texture if the tofu has been frozen and thawed? I do, and that's the old way of making vegetarian ground beef, is you take tofu just in the container as it is, throw it in the freezer, let it freeze overnight, then take it out, just thaw it. It's going to take a long time to thaw. And then when you squish it out, it's almost like a sponge, and it gets firm and crumbly, and it's really good to make like a faux ground beef. You could do that with a little bit. You could put spices or not. Or you can make a taco filling by using maybe some chili powder, cumin, jalapeno powder, a little bit of liquid smoke. Some people used to use kitchen bouquet to make it brown. I don't need that. You probably don't either, but if you wanted to, you could do that. Also, so you could use cauliflower instead of tofu. You could even put something like thick rounds of sweet potato, and you could toss them like this. Now, when you're talking sweet potato more than other things, you might have to go ahead and put something to get everything to adhere to it. So you might want to spray some aquafaba on it or some spray oil. The good thing about tofu, again, it just gives you that extra ease, is that even after it's pressed, it's still moist. So it holds on to those spices just like you saw. So again, and there's always going to be some stuff in the bottom of your basket, so don't worry about that. But see how I didn't add anything, and all the sides, it's really, really well adhered. Okay, so I guess to end this up with, if you guys have more questions about air fryers, tofu in your air fryer, or something else, leave a go ahead and leave a comment, and I'll be checking in on these for the next couple of days. I do have an Air Frying 101 class that's coming up this Saturday. It's going to be filmed live. You have the option to attend live or not, and either way, you can re-watch the video as many times as you want so you can cook along with it. And so there's, wherever you're watching now, when it's talking about this video, I put the link so you can get $5 off the class. So it's only $30, and we're going to make a whole bunch of yummy things. We are not doing tofu, but we're doing things like corn and papusa and roasted corn in the Instant Pot. Roasted corn in the Instant Pot is good. Roasted corn in the air fryer is like angels singing, because basically it caramelizes the corn just ever so slightly, and I actually put lime on it, and it's just really good. It's not fancy, but it tastes super fancy. So we'll do that. We'll be doing some edamame. We'll be doing a few different things in the air fryer. It'll probably be about a 3-hour class, somewhere between 2 and 3 hours. So if you have some questions about the class, let me know. I'd love to see you there, and I'll see you next week. So have a great week.